Okay, it's Friday, the 17th of September, 2021. I'm Tim Wilshire. This is an edition from the Resort Podcast. We're up to episode 21. We did our first episode on this series just under a year ago. I've been in Queenstown now for just over 1 year. It was actually 1 year ago today. It was my first day working from Queenstown. So a lot's happened in that amount of time. So let's just have a bit of a recap as to, I guess, how things are sort of been going since we made this big move. So from the Resort Podcast, episode 21, let's just recap what the year that's happened for Tim and Fiona in Queenstown. So I made it back 3 times to Brisbane. So since the move here, I've made it back 3 times, the end of March, the end of May, and the end of July. So I joined the Rotary Club of Queenstown. It's got 50 members strong. Great club. I enjoy every Tuesday evening going to a Rotary meeting. It is quite good. I decided to join the Arrowtown Golf Club. I did that. So I've been a member of that for coming up to nearly 12 months. I'm getting a bit better at golf. I did play my first golf game at Jack's Point, and probably I would have broken 100. I think I got rained out the last couple of holes at a birdie, so I'm getting better. We've done 20 episodes of the podcast, and some of this podcast will recap on some of those guests. I've done over 15 mountain bike rides greater than 25 Ks around Queenstown. I hadn't really done more than that because I only really sort of bought a bike about 6 months ago, and obviously during the cold and icy season, you're not sort of doing your mountain biking riding as much. The whole mountain bike scene in Queenstown is huge. It's a massive. It really is. It is quite large. Lots of different trails. So many times I went 50 Ks in 3 hours, hills. Just amazing sort of stuff. Some facts. So Coronet Peak, 5 times up the mountain. That was quite, it's great. I've been getting better there at snowboarding. I'm up to a sort of intermediate level now. So I'm looking forward to going that at least probably 2 more times before the season closes. Arthur's Point, I think it was a great location of choice in respect to where to live in this area, because the reason for that is you're 5 minutes from town, so you're sort of away from what's going on. If there's developments, road work, young tourism, kids going crazy on a Saturday night, etc. So you're away from all of that, but you can easily just go in there. It's a bus ride into town. That takes about 6 minutes on a bus. The buses are $2 for every bus leg ride. There's a bus every hour from just out the front here. So it's really, really good. We're 10 minutes to Frankton. That's across over the other side. There's all the shops, your Kmart. Bunnings opened this year. Rebel Sports. There's like a Countdown, which is like a Woolworths store. So that's only 10 minutes away to do all the shopping. We're 10 minutes from the top of Coronet Peak, so just up the road here. We basically got the mountain, and it might be called Concrete Peak, but to be up there in 10 minutes, whether it's a bus, a lift from a neighbour, it's quite good up there, and it's a beautiful day today. We're 15 minutes from Arrowtown. Arrowtown's one of my favourite places to go to. I would go there at least probably once every fortnight. Every few weeks, just to drop into town, go to a cafe, just a nice classic town. That's where the golf is. It's very good membership there, and I think Arrowtown ranks in the top 10 in all of New Zealand. We're 12 minutes to the airport as well, so going to and from the airport, very convenient, very easy to get to. So that's some facts about where I live. And that shot there is just of sort of up the top of the gondola, which I got an annual pass. I've been up there about 6 or 7 times this year. That's the sort of view you get up there, very magical sort of views. We've made some good friends here. I mean, there's a couple of different pubs. There's Cargo at Gantley's. That's a really good pub, only 300-metre walk. And also that at the start of the year, Canyon also opened as well, and that's a pub that's about less than about a kilometre walk that way, and they have some really good. They both places have got their own sort of brewery and beer. And both places have been sort of have trivia nights, and we've been dominating the Canyon trivia night of recent times, and better make some friends on that on that trivia team. So what's going to happen over the 12 months? I don't know what's going to happen. I would have thought that we would have had some more guests come over, but because of the whole COVID situation, that's certainly been pretty hard to see happening. But hopefully over the next 12 months, we will start to see some visitors. And this area of the world certainly needs it. We really need to get tourism back here in Queenstown. It's just really been struggling over that last 12 months. I think I've had one person come over that I caught up with, a client. So and a lot of friends and clients that's had booked and had to cancel that. So hopefully in the next 12 months, once everyone's sort of vaccinated, once they've sort of opened things up and back again, we'll be able to do the back and forth travel quite a bit more. So the podcast guest that we had on, the very first guest was Mayor Jim Bolt. Now, it was also great. That was a 30-minute podcast with Jim. It was great. And I might actually do a follow-up podcast with him probably in the next month or so. He's a very, very good mayor. He's doing a great job. It's a tough job in Queenstown, especially being decimated by things when it comes to the pandemic. But he's a fairly upbeat sort of guy, and he came to a Rotary meeting once where he received a Paul Harris Fellow. So that was probably it was a good podcast to kick the series off. Some of the early podcasts we did, we had Alistair Holland. He was a lawyer on the board of the Queenstown Chamber of Commerce. And then we had Leanne Lyons, a good friend of ours, who's was the president of the Rotary Club last year. Also, Jason Climo, the incoming president for Rotary. I think he's doing a good job too. I like his commitment to Rotary, and I like his. He just seems to be into it, and is becoming a good leader there. And the guy that one of the first guys we had on the podcast was Martin Heifetz, who's I guess he's a sales manager working at the Mountain Scene, and it was great to have his story on the podcast as well. He's a very good guy. Then we into 2021. Some of the highlights we had on the podcast. We had Hamish Walker. Hamish was an MP turned real estate agent. He's probably the best real estate agent in this area as far as sales. He's really rocketing along, sort of pushing the Gippsland area. Good friend Scott Donaldson comes to Rotary occasionally. He is solicitor now at Mac Todd. It was at AWS. He's sort of supportive of David Seymour's ACT party, and is quite big up in there as well. Also does his jiu-jitsu. He's always an interesting guy to talk to. Graham Todd from Todd and Walker. Now, that's where I got my conveyancing done, and Graham's been around for about 40 years. It was such a good story. I think that particular podcast did have over 100 listens, so Graham Todd was a good one. Daniel Gibbons, now he's my accountant at the moment. He works for a company called Findex, which is internationally sort of renowned tax. There he is sort of out the front of their premises there. Need to catch up with him. Dan and Ted Graham, now these guys own the Queenstown Ice Arena, and that's where they have the ice hockey. They had a very good Queenstown Chamber of Commerce event there that was very successful. Very good guys, born in Bermuda, a very good podcast. Talking about people that I guess aren't too quiet. Tori Keating, she's a travel expert. I don't know why it says SEO strategist. That was just a bit of an error there. But she's comes from Australia. It's sort of grew up in the Opals area of outback of north of Queensland. So very good story. Listen to that one. Rod Drury did a breakfast presentation once for the Chamber of Commerce, and he gave me permission to record his particular podcast. It was very, very good. Some great nuggets, and that's had about 100 listens as well. So very, very popular guy. Love that he's sort of into his mountain biking. I ran into him a few times. Good fella. The guy that runs iFly here in town. People may know iFly back in Chermside. Matt runs the one here in Queenstown, and so he was also a good guest on the podcast. I think he was born in New Zealand too. Some other episodes more recently, I guess, Anna Arndt, Eric's Fish and Chips. We had Phil Wilson, who was running for a position as a candidate for a council by-election. Unfortunately, didn't get in. Matt Squire. Now, Matt was a guy that met at a Chamber of Commerce as well, and a very good guy to talk to. Aaron Fleming. Now, he's an Ironman. Actually, came to a Rotary meeting. I think it was the start of the year we did that with, and he works for Doc. And Jim Hewitt was a Rotarian from the US. Had a lot of great stories. Currently back over in the States. So there's a sort of a list of what was going on. A bit of a summary. Still to come this year. I've got to do some bungee jumping. I've got a voucher there that I've got to do in the next 2 months. More mountain bike riding, more community involvement. Get out there, enjoy nature a lot more, play some more golf, and meet some more friends. Do more podcasts. So that's been a bit of a summary episode of the podcast. Fairly short, sharp, and sweet for a Friday afternoon. And it's Tim Wilshire. And if you want to be a guest on the podcast, just hit me up, tim@ctbs.net.au, on the socials, TRSBA, on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram. Tell me what you think. And that's a bit of a summary, I guess, of the first year. Great.